Hey everybody, welcome to our fourth and final session of Labyrinth, the adventure game. I am joined again by Donna, who's playing a human called Lily Valentine, Ozzy, who's playing a worm called Squeek, and Sabrine, who is playing a newly knighted, so Scraggle Neat Fingers, and has a magic sword, and is a goblin. Unfortunately, Maria is unable to join us, but we will bring Wanko into the end of this story and its finale. When we last left our heroes, they had made their way through the junkyard to the land of Yore and were now facing the gate to the Goblin City. And ahead of them, throughout that city, they can see the Goblin King's castle, upon which the clock is at 6. So they've got 7 hours to get to get to the castle and confront the Goblin King. What could possibly go wrong? Well, maybe what could start going is wrong as you stand before the gates of the Goblin City. And as you approach, a steel colossus slowly detaches itself from the gate and lumbers towards you. Its eyes are gleaming with cold fury. It creaks and crunches and whirs as it moves. And you are not going to be able to move past unless you deal with the humongous contraption that whirs in front of you. As I say, as you enter the gate towards it, a portcullis comes down behind you, and there's a wall of spikes which are starting to slowly extend towards you as well, making it difficult to get out. What do you do? Let's start with Squeak.
Is like a giant suit of armor, or is this more like a thing that's composed of various bits of metal?
It's a goblin steampunk mechanical. Is effectively what it is, right? So it whirs and clicks, and inside you can hear goblins shouting and screeching and giving orders, and occasionally steam will poop out as someone's pulling a line. Fire in its red belly burns. It has a large, big hammer, which you're pretty sure if it hits one of you is going to give a rather flattening experience.
Well, Squeak feels reasonably confident that he should now hide in a grove somewhere and make his way through there. But girls are much bigger and can't stick to walls either. So, so this wall of spikes, is this on the side, or
as you sort of walk through, a portcullis slams behind you. There are a wall of spikes which are sort of being pushed in, and you can hear other goblins behind going, turn it, and then the metal giant robot squooshing towards you.
So it's a bit like behind me.
Yeah. Well, the spikes are behind you, robots in front of you, or the automaton is in front of you.
Right. Do I see anything that might be detachable and usable to sort of wedge into the wall of spikes so it stops moving?
This humongous automaton, robot power suit more than an automaton, is looks like it is the pinnacle of goblin engineering, which means it shouldn't be too hard to shake some of its looser parts off, and you can use that. There are definitely gaps and crevices in it that a worm such as you is likely to be able to hide in as well, or climb through.
In that case, Squeak will sort of scoot around, wait for an opportune moment, and just as a foot stomps down, jump onto the foot, and then scoot up the side of the leg and underneath one of the plates.
Okay. So you're going to need to try and climb yourself into that. You're looking at this point to climb and get a 3. I would imagine that very small is something that you could apply to this.
Yep.
As is probably climb walls, but you are probably overconfident as well.
Oh, yes. So it's just 1 die?
It's just 1 die because your floor cancels
Ah.
you out.
Everything falls apart. A 5.
A 5. So we see Squeek disappear into the automaton, or the humongous automaton, and at that point, as he does that, you can hear the screech from inside of so activate weapon systems. What are you doing, Lily?
So, can I ask a stupid question?
You can.
We're in this kind of, I guess, courtyard or antechamber, right? And the
Yeah.
spikes are coming in on the sides. Does that not put the automaton robot thing in more trouble than we are because it's much, much larger?
You would assume that the goblins had thought about that, but it seems apparently not.
Okay. So I think if it's going to be swinging a hammer at me, given I'm the biggest target, and maybe Squeak and Scraggle are in the best situation to avoid that. Maybe I will, try to dodge this lumbering hammer and keep their attention on me.
Okay, so you're trying to get their attention and not get thumped. That seems appropriate. Are there any traits or any equipment you want to bring into the?
I don't think I have any. Oh, wait a minute! I do have a Goblin Guard uniform, so maybe they are doubtful that they should be hitting me, but I don't know.
You could. Are you sort of proclaiming, "Don't hit me. I'm one of you." Is that the sort of?
Yeah, I guess.
Let's see if these are gullible goblins. You will need to roll a 5 or a 6.
Okay. So I'm rolling 2 dice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. No, not even by adding them together.
Did you roll a 1?
A 1 and a 2.
Yeah. Remember to tell me when you roll 1s. Well, actually, no, because your 2 is still your highest roll, so that's all right. I'm sorry, I'm running leverage at the moment where you've got to tell me every time you roll a 1 as well. So my brain just got system confused there. So okay. So I'm afraid you don't manage to get past it, and instead you see the sort of waving this hammer, and then part of its chest opens, and there is a whoop of a really powerful vacuum that is trying to suck you into a capture cage within. You are going to need to resist again here, and you need a 4 or above to resist.
Okay. Am I able to bring in endurance and bravery, or maybe
I think endurance would make
away from
sense. I think endurance would make sense here, right? Holding on to something for dear life to see if you're strong enough to not get sucked.
Sure. So 2 dice. I got a 6.
Okay, so it tries to suck you away, pulling up the dust and dirt from the ground, but you hold your place. Scraggle, how are you reacting to this monstrous automaton?
I will look at I will listen for a bit till I can identify a voice from inside the automaton. Then I will yell out, "Oi! Collie, is that you? What are you doing?"
What name do you cry out there? Sorry, Sabine?
Collie.
Collie. Yeah. So you sort of hear a cry of, "That's Grenadier Collie. I'm working now. Don't move." And a slick of oil is fired over you and the floor that you're in, making it difficult to move, Scraggle. But you can still try and talk them down before they catch you.
Yeah, well, I say, hey, Collie, I mean, does your mother know that you are out here attacking goblins who have have to keep an appointment with the Goblin King? What's the reason behind this, besides you showing off this wondrous thing here? This construct's amazing, really. Well done, you.
How do I know that you're a goblin?
I'm your cousin Scraggle.
Said, I've been hearing rumors of worms and persons dressed as goblins, and like anyone could be a goblin these days. You can't trust no goblins. Quick, get them!
Collie, I definitely am a goblin, and I really remember what happened when you tried to get these apples from the widow Nolfin, right? Come on. And do I look like a worm? I mean, come on. I'm not a worm. I'm too big. And look at my ears. Nobody could have ears like that if they weren't a goblin.
I think at that point you can make. Let's see if you can get them to agree that you are actually a goblin.
Actually, have
Which
got
traits
goblin
you think
features.
are appropriate? Goblin features would seem appropriate. I'd call boastful against you, but I don't see how boastful would be a bad thing in this way, in instance, because Scraggle would just boast themselves through. Like, yeah, it's definitely Scraggle. He won't shut up.
Okay, I'm rolling, and I'm rolling a 6. So, years.
They sort of stop, and it's sort of 1 foot up in the air, looking like it's about to swoosh down on top of you. You're still stuck, I say, on a big oil slick, but it sort of goes, well, it could be you, I suppose. And then the daring Squeek is now climbing their way up through the inside. Describe what that looks like to a Squeek.
So like on the inside of the outer plating of a monofling, it scoots up, and then when he reaches the knee, he takes out this ball of tangled string he has.
Mm-hmm.
Takes a while to find the actual end of it, and stuffs it into sort of the joint, between the moving things, and then hoping that then sort of and stuffs the other, basically the ball into the other bit, hoping that with the movement of the joint that will wrap around the string and eventually sort of block the joint and make it stop.
Cool. So I'm aiming for a 4, 5, or 6 at this point. But you can use your equipment.
So 2 dice.
Yeah.
6.
Excellent. So you can see that the top of the hatch pops up, and the Goblin Collie looks up and takes a telescope and looks back towards the Goblin's castle, where you can see semaphore flags being raised, and sort of Collie waves down and says, "Sorry about this, Scraggle, but the Goblin King says I've got to squash you."
Are you sure you're interpreting these right? Because, I mean, this, can I come in? Because I would like to look at the semaphores from your point of view. Come on.
I think he sort of goes, "No, I'm going to need to squash you," and then you can sort of see the leg has jammed and stopped, and is not is really sort of able to move. And he goes, "Hold on,
And
don't
how are you going to do that if you can't get the leg to move?
uh,
Huh?
just
You
stay
should
where
let
you
me
are."
look at it. Yeah, you should let me have a look at that.
No, you
Because-
stay where you are. I'll fix it, and then I'll squash you. Don't move.
Oh, come on, Carly. You can't fix your way out of a soup pot. I remember what happened when you got your head stuck in that vase. You know? When we had to smash it, and then you complained a lot.
Oh, okay then, Scraggle. You fix it, and then I'll squash you.
That sounds reasonable. And I get off my hog and pat it. Wait here, hoggy.
Looking at the bottom of the foot, you can see that attached to the legs as well are also rather vicious-looking rockets built into its foot. And they seem to look like they're not active at the moment. That's because there's there is sort of you can see there's like a fiery finger which is wiggling around in a glass jar, bouncing back and forth. But if that lid comes off, those rockets are bound to ignite.
And they would ignite into the whole construct, right?
Down into the oil slick, and then yeah.
Okay. Oh no, my hoggy, but we can't do that. Can't ignite my hoggy. We'll have to fix it. I'll think of something. And I look at Lily and say, let's go and then try to get this thing to destroy itself.
Wait a minute. Are these rocket boots?
Yep.
Okay, well then we could light them and they'll go and fly up in the air and that'll be the end of it.
They'll ignite the oil slick and then they'll ignite hoggy. And I mean, I like roasted pig as much as the next goblin, but this is my and he's still alive. Look at these little eyes. Okay. Yeah, look at these noble eyes.
Okay. So can we just not sneak through?
Try. Yeah, let's try that. Sneaking. I forgot about that.
I thought that was your thing.
No, I'm a noble knight. How would I know how to sneak?
Oh yeah.
And the sword proclaims, "And this is the tallest knight I've ever seen. Look at his armor; it is glorious. Let us beat it in a joust, or a sword match, or something similar. Hurrah!"
Yes, we will attempt to do that, noble sword, and you might help us. And then we'll go and look at the boot. Maybe we can readjust it so it will not ignite the oil slick, but instead give us a breach where we can get out, or maybe we can find something we can stick with the sword.
If you angle it correctly, you're pretty sure that you could fire the humongous robot into the doors and the gateways, blocking your access to the Goblin City. If you get it wrong, you'll light the oil, and then as well as having those rapidly closing in spikes, you'll have a flaming pit beneath you as well. What could go wrong?
That's not all.
Could possibly go wrong.
You can hear the spikes are coming in, going, "Get your back into it! Come on!"
Yeah.
Imagine what these goblins could do with some actual leadership to coordinate them.
That's
not the goblin way.
What do you want to do? Let's go to Lily at this point and see what Lily's plan is. Probably I think most sensible plans out of the party.
Well, I think the use the rockets to smash down the portcullises actually works for me. So, but I'm not sure if I'm the best person to do something with explosives. I'm gonna help out Scraggle with their plan for the rockets. So maybe I have to lift them up to get a good angle on the portcullis with the rockets or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, that's cool. So that will give a help. So that will drop it down from a 5+ to a 4+ activity. Is there anything that you are doing to assist or do something different, Squeek?
After I've hopefully entangled the knee joint, I will jump out from the top of the plate and make sure I stay clear of a possible explosion by sticking myself on the wall.
Okay.
But I don't think there's something I can, unless there is a way for me to get up that the controls are. It's probably a bit too far in the time needed.
You can try to climb. You can certainly use your climb walls because you're climbing inside.
So I will try and scoot up and irritate the goblins in the control chamber.
Excellent.
By making squeaking and noises.
I think, as long as you have a 4 or above on your climb walls.
That's a 4.
Excellent. You climb your way up to the top, and we can see Squeek rushing around inside. There's only this 2 goblins in here rushing around. Going, "Oi, how did you get in here?" And they're trying to grab them and not paying attention to Scraggles.
I sort of jump onto buttons and things.
Cool. As you jump onto buttons, you fire off some of its weapon systems across the rest of the poor goblins pushing in. There's a huge bowling ball which goes rolling through, taking out one of the barriers, sending goblins rolling out into the air. Sleeping gas squirts into some of the other goblins, who sort of stop pushing and start snoring in unison. But Scraggle, it's on you with an assist, so you're going to need a 4 or above.
Okay,
Anything else
so
you think you need to use here?
I think I would try. There are still goblins around, right? I will take some of them and explain to them that now that doesn't look right. We will ignite the oil slick and then we'll ignite ourselves, and we don't want that, right? You want big crispy goblin? No. Remember what happened to cousin Ollie? That was really bad. So we need to angle this. Come on, put your backs into it. You can do it. I have faith in you. You are the best goblin mechanics around. And I will, instead of doing it myself, I will basically try to get them to do it for me, because
Okay.
I'm Sir Scraggle now, right? That's how that works.
This is true. So I think you're still using your goblin features.
Yeah, or maybe I'm using wise.
You can use
it's
wise.
Very wise. It's very wise to let other people do your job for you. Yeah, and then I'm rolling. Yay! What do I need a 4?
You need a 4 or above. Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Come on, dices. No, I've got a 4, but only if you add the 2 2s together.
To which point, I think, as you're proclaiming it, there's sort of, you can hear this conversation muttering behind them, people thinking about it. But then one of the balls of spikes, the goblin is pushing it, hit the oil slick, and they can't see it, so they suddenly scoot forward at speed. The spikes hitting the gargantuan robot. The ball of string pops out. Its leg slams down onto the ground, and you can hear the engines of the rocket starting to roar. And it's down to Squeek now to see if you can stop the fool rocket goblins inside from igniting the rocket boots on an oily surface.
Okay. So the I would just sit on the lever they need to pull and sort of move myself around so they can't actually grip it.
Cool. Okay. I think trying to outstrength a goblin, I'm afraid, is going to be an overconfident
Oh yeah.
action. So I'm going to call you a flaw, unless you think there's anything that you
I don't have
want to
any
use as a trait.
equipment left. I don't think.
Your other option could be that you want
Unless Mina being a known thief sort of worries them enough that they think they might want to steal something, and they.
Well, you might want to. So the other option you could use is use listening and spotting to try and spot something like a self-destruct or an ejector seat.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So that would
cancel out your overconfident, right?
negate the overconfident.
So if you give me a 4 or above, you spot the ejector seat.
Oh, it's a 2.
Unfortunately, you don't spot the ejector seat. And the next thing that happens is a rather startling boom as the oil ignites. No. And the remnants of the gargantua, in a sense, spiraling over the wall and the keep. I'm going to put one onto the clock, because when you next come around, you are hanging from a row of gibbets in the sort of cages, right? You're hanging in them, looking all sooty and sort of dirty. And it says you're definitely in the Goblin City. You're on what definitely Scraggle would know is Gibbet Street. This is where those who have committed crimes are held to be punished later on. And as you sort of wake and start moving, you are pelted with rotten fruit and vegetable as a cabbage bonks off your head, Scraggle. You can see your warthog steed is in another cage, as is your sword, and they're quite concerned about the wooden toy duck, which seems to move as well. So that's also in a cage of its own.
Wooden toy duck. Okay.
That Lily has one.
Oh, okay. No, Lily, your toy duck.
I'm shocked.
So you are floating. Okay, so about 20 foot off the ground, and sort of squeaking and shaking there. And in one of the other cages, you can see a fiery that looks quite like Wanko, but not. It isn't Wanko. It just looks quite similar to.
Oh, well, I've been here before. Misunderstanding. Was a misunderstanding.
You were totally innocent, I'm sure, Scraggle.
Of course I was. But sometimes the fruit they throw in are still quite okay, and you can eat them, so it's not that bad.
It's like a luxury buffet breakfast, this place.
Yeah, exactly. That sometimes it is. Yes. I mean, sometimes it's not. Let's not dwell on what happens when they start pelting you with with offal. That's kind of gross, but we should get out of here, I guess.
So the cages themselves are on chains about 10 foot long. So the pole that connects you across the narrow, rickety Goblin streets is about 30 foot up. You're 20 foot up.
Are the cages apart?
The cages are outside of an arm's reach, right? So, but they're not that far apart. There is a visible winch down in the street and a guard's chair. In that guard's chair, the guard is sleeping, snoring.
Hey, make them swing.
Huh?
Make the cages swing.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. That's fun. It's like a carnival.
And so now time it so they come together, and then you can hold hands or something.
Okay. whatever you think is a good idea, sure, why not?
And, is there like a door on each cage on
Yes,
the
there is.
outside?
Yeah, they are locked, but there is.
So if you swing over so Lily can reach your door, maybe she can open it.
Okay.
Yeah, if I can squeeze my whole arm through the cage and start the ball rolling.
Is this a worm-sized cage with worm-spaced bars?
No, it's a goblin cage, right? They haven't thought that through.
Oh, right. So I will, in that case, I will try and start swinging my cage, by scooting back and forth.
I will help by kind of swinging my cage so it will connect with Squeak's cage and box it.
And I will try to get onto the next occupied cage with that.
Okay, so you're trying to screen across to doing that. So you're going to have an assistance from Scraggle, who is also assisting at this point. And as long as you give me 4 or above, you are, in fact, with the assistance of 3 and above, you're able to swing the cage and jump across.
Right, so that's 1 by the 3. And it's a 4.
Boom. Okay, your cage hits, and you're able to leap across into Scraggle's cage.
Hello.
Yay.
I want to sort of stick to the outside and see if I can squeeze myself into the lock to pick it.
Wait a second. I have an idea. I have a bitey pet. Remember? Maybe?
Yes, you do.
Fizzy can just bite through these bars. I mean, they're not very stable, right?
Yes, there's a fair chance your bitey pet can roll through. So you can roll 2 dice for me, and you can choose if you get a 4 or above, Fizzy's teeth are sharp enough to bite through.
Go Fizzy. Yeah, I've got a 4 and a 6. They're so sharp.
The rusty metal cage is of no is not able to hold up against the sharp bitey teeth of Fizzy, who bites through.
I will stop Fizzy from biting Squeaks, though.
Yeah, that's right. It sort of bites out bit after bit after bit. So there's enough of a hole for you to get through. You manage to pull them back before they carry on biting, because if they carried on biting, they would have probably bitten off all of it, and you'd have fallen down to the ground below. The warthog steed squeaks as he sees this happening and is running around, causing their cage to sort of go out in all sorts of different directions, more like a circular motion than a swinging side to side. Lily?
Yeah, I mean, if there's, I'm not sure exactly what the plan is in terms of getting free for me, but if someone could bite through that padlock on my chain too, I don't think there's anything I can really do by myself, though. If I'm already swinging and in a position to be caught by a Scraggle or something.
I think is someone trying to break Lily out. Does Lily need to break themselves out and then get an assist from you? What does that look like?
So the assist is a lowest difficulty.
That's right. Is someone? That's what I was trying to. Is Lily breaking herself out, or is someone breaking Lily out? That's what I want to.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see any way I can break myself out without, say, kicking at the door, and that might wake up our sleepy goblin guard. So I don't think that's a good idea.
Okay, so still in a cage is Lily, the fiery warthog and the sword?
I think I would try to get the sword out, because with the sword I could just probably slice open the cages. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
The sword is grumbling that it's a knightly sword, and if it's going to be imprisoned anywhere, it's being imprisoned in a stone, not in a cage.
That's a fair point. That's a very fair point, and that is clearly an unlawful action, and we should redress this.
I mean, all they had to do was ask for its parole. I'm sure this noble sword would have given its parole, you know?
Yeah, that would be far harder to break than just get a sword out of a cage, which is, I mean, a sword is basically a long metal thing, and the cage basically has spaces between bars, so.
Almost perfectly designed not to keep a
Not
sword
to keep a sword
captive.
in. Right.
That's yes. So I think, as I say, then Scraggle again. It will be if you can swinging this sword, swinging your cage, grab through the sword with your hands, and as long as you can do that.
I have a hole in my cage. I can just climb out and sneak over and grab the sword.
Sneaking over would be appropriate
fish
as
the
well.
sword out there.
Yeah, climbing up and sneaking across would seem appropriate. So you can hold 2 dice then.
Yay. Sneaky sneak. I don't know what the target was, but I've got a 6.
6 is a success, so don't worry in that respect. So describe what it looks like then as you do your Mission Impossible routine.
Oh yeah, we hear the music start, and Scraggle swings up out of the hole in his cage. Fizzy is running around a bit, but making no noise, and he is climbing hand over head down this rusty chain that connects the cages, and swinging there, he will then hold it himself just by his legs and reach down with his hand and draw the sword from the cage, glittering in the rare sunlight that just at this moment strikes through and lights up on the sword. And then he has the sword and still head over and and then it becomes a little less heroic when he tries to juggle the sword and Fizzy, and then get back to the next cage and try to strike away these unlawful locks and free Lily and Hoggy and the Fiery and the toy dog.
Okay, so look, I think we'll say that is the case. Everyone, unplug this. You've succeeded so well then that it's not too difficult to sort of move yourself back and forth between the others and pull them out of the cage between you and Squeek's escapades. The cages are open. You open the one for the Fiery, who's caged up as well, or leaving them caged.
If he wants to be, I mean, I wouldn't rescue him if he didn't want to.
I think actually Squeek will recognize this as being Todd, who was Wanko's friend that they were looking for.
Oh, hey, this is Todd. Hey, Todd. Wanko went off somewhere. I don't know where they went, but he was with us the other day, and they are bound to want to see you again. So let's get you out of here.
Said, oh no, it's I'm so glad to see you. I saw Wanko only a few hours ago. They tried to get in here and save me, but they were caught. So
oh no!
They were put in a barrel of water and taken to the castle.
Right.
The Goblin King said that they knew of a suitable punishment for them.
Right, we get them then. Are you okay in here?
He said, "Well, I'd rather get out if it's all the same."
Right. Come on, people. Let's help Top, and then we can find Wanko together.
Yeah, let's go. Come on, Lee. I've got your toy duck here.
Thank you very much. I mean, I'm not sure why I'm attached to this toy duck, but I am.
Wasn't it one of your old
Yeah, but that was like
toys?
when I was 7, and
Yeah.
you know,
And you're
that's
not
like
7 anymore.
I'm not 7 anymore.
Okay. Okay.
It may prove to be some kind of a distraction if we need to sneak past some goblins in the future. Who knows?
It's very cute. Okay.
Okay, so that allows you to sneak away from this location.
I'm not precisely sneaking away. I'm sorry.
No, then
I'm sitting on my noble steed with my noble sword, and that's not very conducive to sneaking. Also, I am I have come to challenge the Goblin King and have been invited to his ball. So why sneak? The noble Lily has been invited to his ball.
Awesome. So you're riding out. Describe how you're going to exit the scene. Then you're leading out in with noise and fanfare. Are you drawing attention to yourself, or are you trying to make your way through?
I mean, despite Scraggle's best intentions, I think I am shushing him as we leave. I mean, you don't quite have to be so noble. You know, you can just be reserved and proud, and yeah. I mean, fanfare is a little bit immodest, and I think that is unbecoming a knight.
You're right. You're right. I don't need a fanfare anyway. And everybody knows who I am.
Exactly, except for your cousin.
Yeah, my cousin is he wouldn't recognize his own mother if she didn't swap him on the head every day. Maybe that's the reason why he doesn't recognize people.
Cause and effect.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Oh well. It's a tried and true goblin child rearing method. I got away very early. I'm very nimble.
Okay. So as you make your way on then through the crowded, overhanging goblin streets, there are goblins everywhere trying to sell various bits of pieces and discussions, but you can see up ahead that there is what appears to be an enormous bulletin board that takes up beyond the size of the building up into the air, and it's plastered top to bottom with sort of bills and posters and scraps of paper, and it proclaims on it Goblin Parliament.
Which is a bunch of goblins shouting at each other, I presume. So very like normal Parliament.
Yeah, it's basically they've been trying. You know, usually it was called a hive of goblins or an embarrassment of goblins. That's the collective noun, but they are trying to change it to Parliament of Goblins because that's I think that was my idea basically, and somebody stole it.
Yep. Quite possibly.
Obviously, what else could it have been?
You can see this wall is stuck. This billboard wall is stuck with hundreds of goblin laws, and they're shouting at each other and sort of saying no, and you can sort of say no. The convocation has been called. We will review and pass new laws, as is the plan for the great democratic experiment of the Goblin King, one true benefacting leader of our people. Hooray, democracy!
That's not how it works.
They're stealing your ideas, Scraggle.
No, the Goblin King is stealing my ideas, and he's fooling these poor benighted souls here. That cannot stand.
So the sort of lead goblin the lead goblin, who's sort of again, it's the one that you spotted last time around, who's got the powdered wig on, says, "It is how I've exactly has explained it." He screeches down on a piece of paper, "Democracy works exactly as I've explained it," and pastes it up to the wall, going, "See, it's the law."
You have been fooled by the Goblin King, who wants you to believe you are in a democracy where your words matter, but they don't. They don't. That's just the Goblin King wants to use another method to keep you under his thumb and keep you doing what he wants and not what you want. I mean, if you really want to stand here and debate law and order, fine. But I don't think law and order is the Goblin way.
As long as it's on the board, it's the law. Roll for me a D66, Louis.
Okay, hold on. Five and a 5.
So you can see there's still glittering wet. You can see one rule on the wall, which is now law. The opera attendance is now mandatory. Squeak, would you like to roll on as well to see what else has just been passed in this conclave of law?
14.
Death is permanently abolished.
Hooray!
And let's have one from Scraggle as well.
Okay. Death is permanently abolished. I like that. It's a good law. I've got a 6 and a 3, so it's a 63.
Says that where are we? There, 63. Naps must be taken every hour. These are the laws. This is a wonderful experiment. We can govern ourselves. We are what you're saying, Scraggle Neatfingers, says the magistrate, is that we're not capable of making up our own rules. Laws for goblins by goblins.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that laws are not the god. But if you want to, okay. But go ahead. But it's a ruse from the Goblin King. You know that, because he just wants you to be busy with your laws instead of doing some actual change in this world.
What change would that be?
Well, maybe installing somebody who's not trying to mess with people all the time like the Goblin King is. Maybe having a real goblin parliament where all goblins voices can be heard. I mean, this is just people shouting and putting up laws on a board, which is a good idea. I'm not saying that, but, well, if you're saying opera attendance is mandatory, what happens if I don't want to go to the opera?
Well, I would show you the law, and then you would have to follow. That's what we've agreed, right?
Yeah, but I don't want, but I don't like that. Not everybody likes to go to the opera.
Then we would imprison you for the breaking of the law. Bash you till you're dead.
So, yeah, how close is it to the top of the hour? I wonder. Should every law-abiding goblin be having a nap right now?
If you want to call that upon, I will put an hour on the clock, and the goblins will go to sleep. If you've got, but you certainly could call that, right? So somebody said dong, the clock tings, and all the goblins are obliged to have a nap.
Do it.
Or there may be anything else you want to try and do. Let's see if Scraggle wants to try.
Unless Scraggle wants to write a new law right here and now to say that we must be escorted safely to the Goblin King. That would be a good law to create, right?
That would be a very good law. Yeah. Well, okay. Fine. Let's do that. Let's create a new law, like the Lily Law.
What are you writing on the rules for the law?
That Lady Lily Valentine and her retinue, which includes Squeek and me and Todd and Hoggy and Bitey and what else have we got? The toy duck. And anything else that she declares to be part of her retinue should be post-haste escorted to the Goblin King's castle.
So you will need to convince some of the goblins to second your motion.
Ooh. Okay. I am wise, right? That seems to be a very, very good law, because otherwise there would have to be conflict, and conflict is bad for goblins, especially if you have a conflict with a knight with a big sword, right?
Indeed.
So I'm rolling 2 dice?
Yes, you are.
Cool.
You're looking for a 4 or above.
I have a 5.
So some of the goblins that you encountered earlier can be seen, and they go, "Oh, yes, well, it seems a very sensible law. We should back that law." So, why should we back that law? He says, "Well, it seems not like it's going to affect us very much. We were going that way anyway." And one of the other factions of the goblin says, "I will only support this law if you support my amendment to the law that all food must now be stew." And they're sort of mumbling back and forth, to which the parliament says, "Yes," says one who looks really regal looking, "and I wish to declare as my rider that long trailing capes are in now." And said, "Oh yeah, yes, and now winning is now losing. Yes, no, losing is now winning. That's better."
I turn to Lily and Squeak and say, I think this has been written into law now, and I think they're a bit distracted anyway, so let's just go.
That sounds good to me.
Mm-hmm.
Off we go. Off we sneak.
Yeah, we're not sneaking. We
Yeah,
don't
you've been
need
escorted.
to sneak. We're escorted.
Right.
It's the law
Oh.
that we go.
Scoot then.
Yes.
But I mean, I'm not sure how long capes are going to stay in like that. I think it's I think that's going to be repealed by spring.
So someone may put onto their equipment, reminding yourself you can only have 6 pieces of equipment, a piece of goblin law with amendments.
I think that should be Sir. Oh, you're running out of room
Well,
on your.
if you like, you can give me something.
You can be the bearer of the law, Squeak. That is a
No.
noble
That
title.
should be yours. You're the once and future king.
I'm not right now. I'm a knight. I have a sword. And Lily has a. I don't know. Lily has a toy dog, and you should have something too, Squeak. And you will have the law.
Right.
Maybe
Okay.
maybe Worms will be in charge of laws from now on. Let's call it a diet of Worms, huh?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The law.
Yes, you're the law and order worm.
Okay, so you're escorted through the city, avoiding various threats. You're not far from the castle now, but you can see in the street as you there's a mingle of goblins that sort of come around you, and you get sort of caught up with them. They're all looking very solemn and dressed in Sunday best for a goblin. What does sort of formal best clothing look like for goblins, Scraggle?
Well, it's basically wearing everything that you have that is that you declare to be fancy. It's like if you have 2 hats that you think are fancy, you wear 2 hats, and just wearing 1 cloak is a bit like, okay, you're a poor goblin, and you have to wear at least a jacket and a cloak and a coat, right? Mostly it's
That
Yeah.
seems fair. Many of them also are now wearing long trailing cloaks. As you sort of see, the goblins are crowded around a hole that has been dug in the street, and solemnly, a number of them are bringing forward a wooden casket of which you imagine has a goblin inside. Scraggle, you know that fundamentally the goblins will they are quite in this instance, I suppose they respect the traditions and will always bury and tell a eulogy of those that have been lost. But they don't have graveyards. They're way too far away, and goblins are too busy for that. So what they do is they just bury them in the street. So as a hole, there is a goblin, and they're going to put him in a hole in the street. And you know that here, during the ceremony, everyone in the crowd, and you note that you're sort of relatively pinned in, will need to add to the eulogy about the goblin. So as they come forward one by one, the people who've carried the coffin and are now laying it down there, each of them puts in an item. One of them puts in a half-written book of appalling poetry. One of them puts in a still steaming slice of hot pie, hot meat pie at this present moment in time. Another puts in a masterful painting of a dead fish. One other puts in a broken sword. And the final one puts in a very long fork. So one by one, the goblins who are around you sort of step forward and add something, and then they look over to you three. I think Todd is likely to still be with you as well, by the way. He won't have left your side, but looks to you three and says, "Ha! And what can you tell us about Vark the Legendary?"
Should I go?
Yeah, so I say anyone can go over, but there's about bad poetry, hot pie, dead fish, broken sword, a very long fork.
Well, Vark the Legendary was a good friend of mine. We were the best of friends at the best of times and the worst of times. Together, we fought the Cloud Giants in Middenheim. That was a battle worthy of song and of eternal remembrance. It should have been carved in stone, and actually it was when the surviving Cloud Giant promised us to create a monument of us. I have never seen it because I have then gone on to my own epic quest, and while Vark the Legendary came back here, and now he is dead, and that is a pity, because I feel that death was abolished by the Parliament just scant an hour ago, but still, Vark the Legendary will not be kept down by laws and stuff like that. He will die when he wants to. That was Vark. And
yeah, typical Cloud Giants not following through. That must have been how he broke his sword. Yeah, you're right. Bart would never obey the law. He'll stay dead just to spite the Goblin King.
that was Vark. And I will then put the blue lipstick into the grave collection. Mm-hmm. And I feel that it is a good goblin tradition to steal from the grave collection. It would be basically disrespectful not to steal something from it, right?
Swap. A swap is fine, yeah.
Yes, exactly. So I will take the I will attempt to take the book of bad appalling poetry.
Okay. And you're swapping that in for lipstick, yeah?
Yeah,
That's
the
fine.
lipstick.
That's absolutely fine. Don't need to roll for that. Everyone nods. Good speech, good speech. And then their eyes are upon Lily and Squeek for their addition to the eulogy.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know legendary Vark at all, but I've heard of his tales even in my land. But what struck me about his origin, and knowing Scraggle as well as I do, it is amazing that people, fine goblins, can come from such modest origins, and that's why I will leave this Goblin Guard uniform to honor the service that Varka gave to the Goblin community over all these years. Even if he was an outlaw in death, as he was in life, serving the community was and himself was what was most important to him.
Let's see, because again, you said you didn't know them. Let's see if they buy your story. I think it's probably likely that you said something blunt at that point, Lily. Anything you want to take forward as a trait? I suppose you are offering the Goblin Guard uniform in here.
Yeah, I don't think anything else looks. There's no nitrals here, so I'm not looking to make any cry. But it's a funeral, so who knows? There might be some hangers on. But no, I think so. I'm rolling one die.
Yeah,
I'm rolling 2 dice.
You're rolling 2 dice and take the lowest because
Yeah.
I'm going to call blunt against you. You're looking for a 3 or above.
Okay. I got a 4 and a 6, so that's a 4.
The goblins were so emotional that they missed the fact that you said you didn't know them, because then they'd be asking why you were at the funeral, right? But you can put the pit goblin armor in. Are you taking anything out?
Remind me what's in there again?
There is a piece of hot pie, a painting of a dead fish, very good painting of a dead fish, a broken sword, and a very long fork.
I feel like and to go cold in a hole in the street, that would be disrespectful. So I'm gonna take the pie.
Mm-hmm. And you're putting the Goblin Guard uniform in. Right.
Yeah.
Cool. And then they turn to you, Squeek.
A great goblin, one of the greatest. Fear was unknown to him. He would just poke everything with his sword until it broke. And he was always victorious until that last moment. A great shame that he had to leave so soon. But a great life and many mighty deeds.
Are you going to try and put something in or swap something out? Or
I have nothing to give.
That's all right. One of the goblins nearby sobs. He goes, so right. I told him not to poke the barrel of acid with his sword. He wouldn't listen.
There you go. We have every one of us has a dim moment every once in a while.
There's sort of a sob, and yes, one by one. And can you roll? Sorry for me for that. As long as you roll above 3, anything you think is appropriate as a trait or a flaw. So you're looking for 3 or above, but as long as it's successful, people nod and accept, and the eulogy does not stay for too long, and you're able to move
6.
Ooh.
Yep.
Nice.
The goblins there one by one nod and sort of say, "Yeah, that's it then. And some one of the other goblins go, I didn't know you could leave something and take something. He said, well, yeah, that seems to be the way. He said, that's a great tradition. He said, yeah, he's got better boots than me. He's got better boots than me as well. And the goblins are now having a heated discussion about, we should put this into law, that you can take something if a person who ain't around no more has got better stuff than you. The goblins are distracted, allowing you to...
in that case, I will sneak out the long fork.
If you're going to try and sneak it away,
Yeah.
you'll need to steal it. I'm going to call the flaw against you that you are a known thief. So you'll need to use something, anything that you feel is appropriate as a trait, maybe very small.
Yep, absolutely, because they might just see the fork moving, if at all, but not actually me.
And everyone knows that long forks, move by themselves.
That's a 4.
Yeah, that's enough for you to grab the very long fork.
So is it the handle that is long, or the tines?
Probably the handle. Tines are about right, but in your hands, Squeek, it looks more like an Atlantean trident than a fork.
Yeah.
Kind of a multi-lens, like multiple prongs and then like a trident. Yeah, it's amazing. Just need a steed now.
And what will be the final scene in this phase? Close to the castles, you can see a strange sight. There is an enormous bang, and smoke is billowing out of warehouse doors at the end of this street, which is close to the castle. Several goblins run out, squeaking and squealing. Their clothes are on fire and dash past you, diving into waters, broken sewer pipes, which is probably where the bog of external stench gets its stench from. And inside, you can hear raucous laughter, lots of squeaky laughter. Are you so the guards where you're going, oh no, you can't stop here. I've got to escort you straight to the castle. No time to be stopping for explosions of fireworks. Off we go, and you'll try to be bundled past.
Well, that's where we want to go anyway.
So you're letting him pass, but you pass and sort of move past the scene. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
There are always exploding stuff.
Mm-hmm. Within, as you pass, so the camera will cut to, I suppose, the worm army from last time, waiting there, ready, going right now. Any minute now, what we're going to do is we're going to fire these rockets straight into the castle. It'll be great. And if you haven't,
my brave brethren.
As you haven't dealt with this, I'm going to put the floor on all of you, which I will call once, which is unexpected fireworks.
Viva la revolution, right?
Now it's definitely feeling like Worms, a computer game, because we have worms with explosions and explosives and fireworks, which are going to fire at the castle. What could possibly go wrong?
Oh, hang on. Wrong bit.
Okay, let's take a little break there, and when we come back in, we are going to go into the Goblin Castle and confront the Goblin King. However, let us pick up on the entrance to the castle. As you are now approaching out the Goblin City and towards the castle, there is a bridge made of paved marble, and on the balustrades of the bridge, if you've ever been to Prague, think of it like that one, the very long one that's across. You can see various marble figures of heroes and legends of the Labyrinth, including some that you have seen already. You spot a statue of Valerie Valentine here, Lily.
Ooh.
So do we get a sense of how long my grandmother stayed here, either in Goblin time or real time?
The site. Well, I think it's fair. So you feel that this is your grandmother, probably in her late teens, early 20s. She's possibly, she told you great stories and fantastic stories when she about the things that she did when she was a child, which you've always sort of assumed to have been made up. But she's there, and it says, there's a sign beneath it which says Valerie Valentine, the bravest adventurer and cartographer within Labyrinth, friend and ally of the Goblin King. Further ahead, you can see there are dwarf. There would be dwarves on the dwarf stonesmiths, casting new statues, and they're sort of chipping away at the marble. One of them sort of proclaims, "You've got it completely wrong. There's no way that Scraggle Neatfinger's ears are that big." And so it's not fair. It says one of them. It's like, what you say? Which one of them is it? Yeah, you get to do the goblin. I get to do the worm. Worms are small. They're really hard. And they spot when you say they're right there looking at it, and he sort of he goes, blinking heck, your ears are that pointy.
Don't worry, Scraggle. They're just jealous. They just wish they had your ears.
I feel that they're my best feature.
Says we're just trying to make the best likenesses of you, and you can see the panel carved in the stone as it says Sir Scraggle Neatfingers, who tried to overthrow the Goblin King, and the rest of the story is unwritten. And the same is for Lily Valentine, who stepped in her grandmother's feet, the footsteps, and say Squeek the worm, who chose friendship over rebellion. And it says, so it would really help us if you could tell us what you're planning to do, because if we can complete this early, we can head off. You see, he points to one of the dwarves. It says it's Stront's birthday, and we'd like to
Happy birthday!
Oh, well, thank you very much. So we'd like to get to home early. I hear there's some adventurers coming to here to have a confrontation with the Goblin King. We wouldn't be around for that.
Well, we will prick them red hats. Holding up the long fork, the very long fork.
So you're going, got you. So we have Squeek, the worm who chose friendship over rebellion, and pricked them when it hurt. And that is chiseled into the stone at speed by the dwarf. Is there anything from either of you two?
Yeah, well, I'm going to bring freedom to everyone. That's a noble goal, right? I look at the sword. That's noble, right?
It says, I would think so.
Yeah. And I have a noble sword. The noble sword of the stone from Yore.
Strunt sort of looks on. You said just once you've typed this down to get this in, right? We need to make sure that this is true, because otherwise we'll have to do it again. So don't be getting yourselves into trouble.
I know trouble seems always to be getting into it with me, but I am not getting into trouble.
So Scraggle never starts anything.
True. That's very true. But I have to call out injustice.
Strunt sort of like pulls up his little glasses and looks at you and says, "Spit of your grandmother. She even had a coat and an hat like that."
Yes, yeah, indeed. You'll never guess where I got it, but so wait a minute. Like, if these get written down, does that mean it's like more likely to happen?
Well, I don't know. Probably. It's like you're writing your own ending.
Oh, okay.
Unless it's wrong, at which point we'll have to carve it out again, and that will be a charge.
A charge to the Goblin King.
Well, we charge by the letter and the word. He might want, they might want you to pay. I don't know. We're just journeymen.
All right. Well, I guess we can get back to you later with what actually happened. I mean, it's not urgent. It's not breaking news.
That's true. This is true. Yeah, tell us when it's done. But he looks at Squeek's one and Scraggle's, which is already carved into the sort of carved in. And I said, I reserve, I've noted them down. Prick them where it hurts, says Squeek. I brought freedom to everyone, says Scraggle. I reserve the right to call those as a trait or a flaw for you during this final phase. As you make your way over the marble bridge now towards two massive wooden doors, and on one of the doors is the form of the armored Goblin King, hand raised up. On the other door is the form of Valerie Valentine, arm warmed up. The doors are huge and will require great strength to pull open. It is over a moat, and you look down in the moat and you do seem to be standing on there's just enough give here, right, that there could be a trap beneath you, and beneath it, it bubbles and stinks like the bog of eternal stench is forming up its moat. Everything else is strangely quiet.
Do you think we could bribe some dwarves to help us open the gate? Maybe with some hot pie?
You can do that. You've also got some goblins with you who are escorting you, because they scratch their head and go like, well, it's shut. How are we going to get you escorted in?
Well, everyone can put their shoulder to the door, and I think maybe our dwarfish friends could be convinced to help us out.
You can certainly, or you can. Sorry, Sabina, I didn't hear you there.
Or we could maybe knock. Like, I mean, I know this is an unusual strategy. I realize that, but maybe we could just knock and say, hey, we've been invited. I mean, I've never been invited to.
Are there door knockers?
Yes, there is a big door knocker that would take, yes, you could knock. You could try to pull them open. Or more, I suppose, if anyone wants to try and do anything else. But it's sort of...
I mean, who are you and what have you done with Scraggle Meat Fingers? That's what I want to know.
We have been invited, usually not, I mean, I've always been invited, but more like, but don't make yourself suspect or anything. So we are here on official business, so we should maybe, I don't know, I've never done this before. You're the hero human person.
Okay, I mean, let's try knocking, but it seems like all of the Goblin King's servants don't really know what they have promised to us. So I don't know. We can try to talk our way through it, and we do have the law on our side and an escort. So maybe you're right. Maybe we should just knock.
Mhm.
Well, it's a bang, 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 and a hatchway opens in the door, and a little sort of trumpet pops its way out. It says, "Who is it?"
Yeah, I'm Lily Valentine. I have been summoned for a ball with the Goblin King, and there's a law to that effect. And these goblins are escorting us. So please open up.
Yeah, I have entourage.
I think you can claim assistance for the fact you have an entourage and you have the law on your side, quite literally. So you could draw 2 dice against a difficulty of 3 at this point, so 3 or above.
Okay. And I got a 6.
Because, oh, it's you. You've been expected. And there is a creak as the doors open, and you can see a opulent marble staircase ahead of you. The stairs go up, down, or there's a long passageway. Do you enter through the gates?
Onwards.
The goblins who have been escorting you go, right, we'll have a good trip then. He said,
This is it.
yeah, this is it. Only got to take you as far as the gates. Said, won't catch me going in there. You'd have to be crazy to go into that castle.
Okay. Well, that is.
I think the word is brave.
They're very brave. Goblins are. They can't all be like you, Sir Scraggle.
I'm the bravest goblin there is. Witness me going in there.
So is the trumpet door knocker receiver? Do they have anything to say to us? Can they direct us in the right direction?
The goblin once again has a powdered wig on and a French style court coat, and waves you in. It says, the Goblin King welcomes you to their castle, and as promised, there will be a ball and a great dance. The Goblin King asks you to travel carefully and safely within the castle. They would deeply wish that you could stay here with them forever, like your friend Wanko.
Oh no.
And then you can sort of hear the Goblin King's voice booming. He says, I have done all that you have asked. Give democracy and ways for the goblins to have their voices heard. I have done it. Allow the worms to have their rebellion. It is underway. And to return the stew that you wished from your memories to the people. So no one in the Labyrinth's bellies will ever be empty again. It has been so long since I've had such fun, and all I can ask of you is to stay with me in this place. Think of the adventures we will have. Will you stay with me?
Well, I mean, who knows? I think there's still some. I think you still have to hold up on your end of the bargain. We found Todd incarcerated, and Wanko is obviously, not free, and And anyway, I was promised a ball, and it seems really difficult to get there, so maybe it's not worth the price of admission. Maybe I'll just turn around and go home.
I think at which point the door slams shut behind you. And say, I have moved heaven and earth to give you what you wished, Lily Valentine. And if you will not come to me willingly, then you will not leave at all.
See, that's the way to get a girl on side, isn't it? You're so reasonable. I can't imagine why my grandmother would have run from you.
And I helpfully point out, I think that's sarcasm.
And the voice says, you will remain here for all time.
But wait a minute, I thought we had a deal, right? I was going to go to the ball and give you a dance, and then we were going to see what happened.
It said, I have offered you everything. If you can find the ball and please me with your dance, I will rethink. And then the petulant voice is gone. There is a long passageway to your left. There are stairways down to your right and stairways up ahead of you. Which direction do you head in?
What do you think, Squeek?
What
does your nose
isn't the
tell you?
ball usually downstairs rather than upstairs? I don't know.
I mean, in a treasure hunt, I would say we should go downstairs because the best treasure is usually downstairs. But the higher ups are called higher ups because they're higher up. And if we're looking for a Goblin King,
I mean, the Goblin King is snooty enough that I imagine they're looking down their nose at us every time we talk. But so maybe upstairs is where. But maybe ballrooms are usually the biggest room, and they're usually like on the ground floor, right?
I've just robbed a ballroom once, and that was in a ruin, basically, and I only think it was a ballroom because there was a ball lying around. But yeah, sure.
Says the butler in their powdered wig, with sort of they've over powdered and they've got like a little spider beauty spot on their cheek, on lipstick on their lip. Says, "Oh, I wouldn't assume that geography and geometry work as you'd expect here. You should go where your heart tells you."
Well, it's your call then.
Let's go up. So.
You take then. Is that the direction you're heading?
Yeah, if that seems acceptable to the others. Okay.
Lead the way.
You head up the stairs into the throne room. And it looks like a little bit of a disaster. Food and trash and a little bit of broken furniture scattered around. This is clearly evidence that a goblin party has recently been held here. There is a circular pit in the center of the room, about a foot deep. There are two thrones, one with the 8 legs of a spider that make up its back, and another which is leaves and oak that has grown together into a chair. There is a bell next to the throne and a clock with daggers for hands that looks very much. It is currently on, as I say, the 6th hour. The 7th hour, sorry. And then there is a window that you can look out and see way down to the goblin city beyond. There are 4 exits from this room: a stairway, a gateway, a kitchen, a long passage, and an arch. And sitting around the pit at the center of the room, there are a number of goblins having a whispery conversation, and there's a sign which has a picture of a goblin on it with a finger on its lip that goes, "Shh, War Council in progress."
Hey,
Then
Squeak, maybe you can spy on them.
I will squeeze myself through the keyhole.
Okay, so let's see if you can get in without being spotted. I'm looking for a 4 or above.
Very small.
Which will give you an extra dice.
Yeah.
But I do think you're overconfident.
Okay.
And, there's a fair chance that you don't think you can be spotted, and you're a better spy than you think you are. Or you're a worse spy than you think you are. So just 1 dice.
No re-roll. And it's a 4.
4 is good. What goblins are talking about the war and the rebellion of the worms, and how can we possibly carry on with the worms not knowing what they should be doing. There's got to be a war with them. They are discussing that now stew seems to be in the hands of everyone, then it is only the unlimited rice pudding that can be said to be theirs. And if the recipes for the rice pudding should fall, then so will our goblin kind. I like the skin on the top, proclaims one of the goblins.
Well, that's all that's going to be left is the skin on the top. To the kitchens. Well, I scoot back. The secret weapon of the goblin army is their rice pudding. We need to steal it.
We need to steal the rice pudding? Seems like...
Or we can poison it or something.
Well, that sounds like it would hurt people.
Yeah, let's not poison things. Let's just steal it.
Dump it down the drain.
But like everyone likes rice pudding. Yeah. Just like
and we need to eat all of it so that there's nothing left for the goblin army.
Or we could just give it to the goblin army and tell them to go home. To their...
No. The goblin army want to eat rice pudding so they can fight against the worm army who are invigorated by the stew.
Maybe we can just give the rice pudding to both goblin and worms and tell them to have a celebration instead of a war.
Now you're talking.
Nobody really wants to fight in a war. Like, that could hurt, right? That's not, nobody really wants that.
Pretending to be brave knight is all very well, but actually having to fight, that's just right out.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, of course, I'm a noble knight and would like to fight and squint at my sword again, but not unjustly. So we will conquer the rice pudding and then reconcile both armies and bring peace and freedom. Yep. And rice pudding.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if we do happen by the kitchens, let's do something about the rice pudding. Does anyone sense some kind of dastardly opportunity with this clock, though? Because I wonder if we might give ourselves some more time by pushing the hands backwards. Is that too sneaky?
And look at you with like ghost admiration in my face. That is good thinking.
I mean, I'm not sure if that's how time works, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
Let's try it.
The Goblin King seems very happy to cheat, so I mean, we have to respond in kind. I wonder what this bell is for.
Ring it.
No, that's not how you. Well, how about I wrap it up with a piece of cloth or something and put it in my pocket. Is it like a shaky bell or like a hotel reception bell?
I think it's closer to a bell ringer's bell, so it's big enough. So if you can, what I'll ask you to do, if you want to take it away safely without ringing it, I'll ask you to make a test. And providing you roll a 4, 5, or 6, you can take it away without making a ring. If someone has got any way of helping you, that is possible as well.
Okay, I don't think there are any traits that I can.
I don't think so.
Anyone? I don't know if anyone can help either. Maybe Squeek can wrap himself around the clanger as I pick it up.
Now I will not dampen the clanger for you.
Okay.
Don't clang. So don't throw a dwarf. Don't clang a worm.
Don't clang a worm. Yeah, it's a folk wisdom from the ages. Okay, so I'll just roll one die.
Yeah.
And look for a 4+. No, and that is in fact a 1.
Wow.
To which point, as you lift it to pull it away, it sort of makes a very loud clanging noise, and the goblins at the center turn around and go, "What? What?" And you can hear footsteps running from various different directions.
Oh no.
What you said, it's like, "Whoa, who's ringing the alarm? We're under attack!"
Thought you weren't going to ring it.
I wasn't. It just rang by itself. It's a goblin bell.
Oh.
I'm a bell, says the bell. What else am I going to do? And you realize inside the bell is not actually a clanger. It's a small little goblin who's quite excited and sitting lifted. The bell itself was a cover for the little goblin who has screeching. Goes, "Alert! Alert! Ring the bell!" There are 4 ways out of here. There is a stairway up, a stairway down, a long passageway, and an archway.
So I think I will toss the bell over to one of the goblins who's charging at us.
Okie dokie.
And we're going to run. Where are we going to run? Keep going up or keep going up?
We'll follow you.
Okay, we're going to need to escape the goblin. So I am looking for I'm looking for a 4+ from each of you.
Okay.
And I am going to, unfortunately, Scraggle Neat Fingers. This is the time that your unexpected fireworks comes to bear as a large rocket comes through the window in this room, exploding. And though it may add to help a distraction, it's also caused your ears to ring quite and your eyes to get spots as a rocket explodes in the room. So you will need to, I've taken and used unexpected fireworks, so that's that floor gone. So then it's a question if you think, and I'll go from Scraggle backwards, if you think there's any appropriate traits you can bring to bear here.
I have Hoggy, so I'm basically on the back of this noble warthog steed. and my ears are ringing and my eyes are like squinting, but forward, follow Lily.
Yep. I think it's Lens. You can definitely roll your one dice. You could probably bring in your so you're sneaking and hiding if you wanted to as well, which would put you back up to a positive.
I don't think I can if I'm
Okay.
on
the
if
warthog.
I'm relying on my
So
warthog.
it's
not
neutralized then. So it's just 1d6. So you're looking for a 4, 5, or 6.
Oh well, that won't go well. Nope, it doesn't. It's a 3.
The warthog is also distracted, and we'll deal with that in a moment. Squeak.
Well, Squeek is very small, so hiding, not hiding, but using anything in the corridor as cover as it scoots along.
Okay, so you can use, I think, very small.
And a 5.
All right. And Lily, any traits you think you can bring to bear?
Well, I mean, I think maybe if we're going along, another set of stairs, really, I just have to keep ahead of them until they get tired and bored. They're goblins after all. So maybe endurance.
Yeah.
So it's 2 dice. No, a 3. Back to the gibbets for us, maybe.
No, I think as you run, it takes you do ultimately outrun them back and forth through the corridors. You have run through corridors that will take you back down to the main gateway. One that takes you through to
The kitchen.
but you haven't got time to stop because you're being chased by goblin generals and the entire goblin captaincy, and it takes an hour off your clock until you give them the slip, and you're going to end up in fact, where you give them the slip is you enter into a strange stairwell, which is slightly non-Euclidean. As you go through one doorway and seems to be upside down on the wall, you see goblins beneath you. As you're in this eshel-like landscape, and the goblins pointing in one direction and running through doors trying to catch you. You always feel as if you're upright no matter how the room orientates itself, but you can see 6 exits from this room.
My eyes! My beautiful eyes!
And you can see the armored form with her white silver lilies standing on one of the stairwells upside down from you. I said, if you wanted my attention, there was no need to raise the alarm. It says, what do you want from me? Have you changed your mind, or will you spend your days stuck here in the stairwell?
Well, I mean, all you have to do is tell me where the ballroom is, right?
It says, I can tell you where the ballroom is.
And how to get to it?
Yes, and it's away from it. All I ask for you is that you would fear me and love me, and I will show you the way. And you can hear music in the distance and says, your friends await.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure you've shown me anything so far that I can love, but you've certainly achieved part 1 of that, right?
That fear and love are truly indivisible. But if you cannot say those words to me, then find your own way, and sort of steps over the edge of a stepway, which looks like there should be about to fall, and walks away through an archway. So, to get out of here is a challenge of difficulty 5. Only one of you will need to make the roll. If others can think of any way they can assist, I can drop the difficulty by 1 for each person assisting, and if there's any traits or equipment you think are appropriate.
Is this
can I hear anything from the exits?
You could certainly call listening and spotting into that way. And Donna, you were...
I was just wondering if this is a non-Euclidean space, is climbing walls going to be something that's going to help Squeek to
Yeah. I mean, because I can stick it, but it doesn't matter which way I'm up.
Yes, you can definitely do that, but others cannot. So I would say listening.
But it helps me finding out which
Yep.
exit is the correct one. That's what I mean.
Yeah. So yeah, you could climb around and check. And how will Lily and Scraggle be able to help? Is there any way you can help, which will drop down a difficulty?
I don't know, unless we can like stand in a fairly central location and help with directions.
That would seem reasonable to me.
I mean, I have these amazing ears. We have established that, so maybe I can hear something interesting from one of the exits where there's alarms. We should maybe go there, but if there's nothing, then maybe we should go there, or maybe not. Who knows? Maybe we can hear Wanko yell or something.
Absolutely. So that will give you a difficulty of 3 then, because you've got assistance with 2 dice. Hopefully.
Oh no, a double 1.
You are sure that this is the way into
the
ballroom, and just as you step through, you realize that worms are not so good with left and right, and you've given them a wrong impression. As you step back through the door, and all 3 of you are in the attic of Lily's house. The window is still open. The windstorm is still raising, and you can hear the Goblin King say, said, "I think this game has ended. If you will not love me, then you will not reach the heart of my labyrinth."
I think we took a wrong turn somewhere.
I guess I should just, stop being truthful and lie to get what I want, right? That's obviously the only way. So I think I have to, tear a page out of the notebook and write a terribly soppy love letter to the Goblin King, and then make it into a paper airplane and throw it back out the window so that they receive it.
I think that works perfectly, and as you do that, you are suddenly back, and you are at the entrance to the ballroom. And the ballroom is a ball. It is a glittering crystal ball that floats in the middle of nothing, with dancers on different stages. Everyone is dressed in immaculate suits, black tails swooping along cloaks, because they're in right now, tricorn hats and domino masks, dancing. On one of the platforms above, you can see dancing with their eyes almost misted in a way. You can see Wanko dancing with the Goblin King. and she sort of they pass the goblin, the Wanko, into dance with another one of the strange, beautiful figures in the room. And the Goblin King looks at your letter and says, it said, a Valentine's from a Valentine. How I have missed you in my court. Said, will you dance with me?
I mean, how can I refuse such a gracious offer?
And she sort of takes you by the hand, sort of stepping on and off, as Wanko is sort of being danced away from you. And there's two things here, I suppose, which is you need to keep the Goblin King occupied. I assume that someone would probably want to free Wanko from the eternal dance in the ballroom. But let's deal with Lily to begin with, as she raises out her hand to yours and takes you in a leading dance step. And as she steps, literally glass stairwells appear as they step up and forward and dances you like in a waltz, and sort of to dance you away from everybody else. Whilst that is happening, Squeek and Scraggle, you're being left alone. What do you do?
Let's foment a little revolution, right?
I look for things that we can use to possibly trip up the Goblin King as they dance. Baubles, fruit in bowls on the side of the ballroom.
There is at the center of the ballroom, you can see various figures that you've encountered through your trips on the Labyrinth, all dressed in formal dress, eating from a table of feast, which is overloaded with wonderful items of food and treats galore, including candelabras and blah, 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 but it's sort of floating on a crystal disc in the center of the room. There's music from anywhere, but no sign of an orchestra, as if...
I'm going to grab a banana and peel it.
So you need to make your way up to it to begin with, to see if you can sort of almost dance your way up to the steps with your moves of your dance. I'm afraid you can't climb here because there's nothing really for you to climb. It's only it's literally a crystal dome. Everything is floating around. And as people step and make the right dance moves, crystal steps appear and then disappear behind them. So you'll need to.
So basically, I'm going to follow the dancers in the right direction.
Yeah, and then if you're doing that, then you could call listening and spotting.
Okay, cool. A 2.
Unfortunately, we find that you have, one of your feet. You don't really have feet.
No.
They're sort of 2 left feet, or 2 left tails, anyway, as the dance moves. But manage to get out of sequence with the music and realize you're moving further and further away from the table.
I've always been bad at platform games, so that explains that.
Scraggle, how do you want to try and spot or sort of stoke rebellion here?
I think I need to get to a platform, like where the musicians are, right? And then I can make a speech, I guess, because making speeches, I'm good at that. And also I have the sword, and that will give weight to my arguments, and the sword harm. So I will attempt at least to get up to the musicians, like storming over these glass steps, maybe bowling over 1 or 2 dancers. I mean,
Cool. So you will also need to try and dance your way through the steps of the dance to reach where the musicians. It's more that there is just the conductor who is sort of, and the music seems to be coming from everywhere but nowhere. But you can make your way up there, providing the same challenge for you, really, that you need to get above there with a.
Maybe No, I'm not trying to sneak and hide here. That's the problem with having the sword. I can't really. I am imbued by this utter conviction that the sword will yell at me if I start sneaking and hiding here. And also, if you have a noble warthog, it's kind of difficult to sneak and hide anyway. So, well, I'll roll just one die, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I've rolled a 5.
You went you sort of flashback to maybe Scraggle with your mum forcing you into dance lessons when you were a small goblin, going, you never know when you might get called to dance in the goblin's castle. It's important to know how to dance and present yourself with decorum.
Mama, I don't know what decorum is. Can I eat it?
Decorum is doing what you're told, and there's a clip across the ear rolls.
Very good at that.
And whilst that is happening, you are being led on a dance by the Goblin King, Lily, pirouetting and waltzing through, and says, do I ask so much? Is your life back there, is it something that you crave so much? Have you not enjoyed your time here in a land of mysteries and wonders? There are dozens of places that you have not seen, Lily Valentine. Stay here and have adventures. Live a life of.
I mean, some of them were exciting and fun, but a lot of them were kind of dangerous and upsetting.
He said, and what of the friends you've made here? Will you not miss them when you go back to where you came?
Well, I have like friends back there too, right? I mean,
real friends, better friends, not like these.
No, like different friends, you know.
More important friends, then.
No, but like if I stay here for like a year, like how much time passes?
I think we're losing you, Donna.
Oh, how's it now?
Yeah, okay now.
Okay.
So like buffering problem.
Yeah. So yeah, if I stay here for a month or a year, you know, how long passes back home? I don't.
He said, you will not age a day. You will live in perfect youth for all time. Said, no boy, no world, no chance to have a family. None of these things are as important as those things. We would have such fun, Lily Valentine.
Well, how about you could
You're buffering again there. Sorry,
around the labyrinth on a friendly for a while. Then you could come with me back there.
So can you go from the top again? Sorry, you buffered again there. Sorry.
How about you bring me for a little tour around the labyrinth, you know, and to show me how friendly and inviting it all is, and then maybe we can go back to my home.
Don, are you still with us?
Yeah. Can you? I don't know what's.
I think I just tried to quickly stop your video seconds. You're buffering again, but you can probably switch it back on.
Okay.
there. I think I caught what you were saying there, and I think you're trying to lead them on a dance and convince them. So let's see if your moves are effective here. I mean, I think definitely singing and dancing, but you're trying to negotiate with kind words whilst you are known to be blunt. So I think that puts us down to a single dice, unless there is something from your equipment that you believe is appropriate here.
But I mean, I'm not being blunt, am I? The flaw that no matter what, I come across as blunt, or that.
Okay, I'll let you not, Roy, because I think you're singing and dancing. Let's see if you can outdance them. We won't.
Okay. So 2 dice. That's a 6.
To which point the ballroom sort of floats out of the castle like a bubble, and it is being drifted over the labyrinth. And say, this is a home of dreams. I have built it and carved it from my imagination. If you were to sit on the throne beside me, you could carve it out of your own imagination. Said before your grandmother was here, there were no lands of yore, and without her mind to hold it together, now it stinks. Whilst this is happening, Scraggle, you have made it to your position. What will you be using to try and the Goblin King's attentions are elsewhere? How will you try to convince the people in the dance to stop dancing and join your rebellion?
I will yell out to them that I am Sir Scraggle Neatfingers. I am wielding the sword of yore, and I'm riding this noble warthog by my side. And I have come to proclaim that the Goblin King is a tyrant, and that we should overthrow him, that freedom should reign, not a democracy foisted upon people who don't even know what that means, and who don't even maybe want that. We need to be free. We need to do our thing, and we need to follow our own desires and what we want. We do not need a tyrant to tell us what we have to want. We need to figure that out for ourselves.
Okay, this will be difficult, for these are both nobles and caught up in the music of the dance. Is there any way that you can help here, Squeek?
Where am I at the moment? How far did I get when I tried to hop up the various platforms?
You should have gone right and you went left. So you're
right.
You almost have to say you dance the platforms into existence, and you're not close to anyone at the moment because unfortunately you failed. But
then I'll just try to draw everybody's attention away from Scraggle by going, hey, hello here.
Okie dokie. So
look, I've got your fork.
So you try to. Doesn't Scraggle want their attention?
Yeah, he does.
Oh right, okay. Sorry, I misunderstood that. Then yes, Scraggle.
Poke them with a fork. It's long.
So with
listen to Scraggle, poke.
With Scraggle's attention, I think this will bring it down to a 4 from a 5. So you need 4 or above. I think you could probably call the wise, or you can use the sword. Possibly both, because you can use a piece of equipment and a trait. You could roll 3 dice here.
Okay, so now roll 3 dice. Whoop. See how that goes. Come on. There's a 6. There's 2 6s. Yes.
Whoa.
So the dancers sort of come out and snap away from their dance, and at which point I think we see Wanko break free from their dance partner, and their eyes sort of flip back to life as well. To which point I think that she throws her rusty magnetic sword across to Actually, no, you've already got a weapon. That's fine. But she will throw to you, Squeak, the explodey orange pear that they were carrying. It hasn't been primed by breaking its stalk off. And sort of, again, let's go back to Lily and the Goblin King. They say, this place is a land of dreams. I have been so broken-hearted for so long, I cannot dream kind dreams anymore. If you were to stay with me, my heart would be whole again, Lily Valentine.
They're lying. They're lying. They're always lying.
So is that like you're saying you're mean and horrible to people because you've been lonely?
Yes. What am I without someone to rule besides me? I cannot dream. I require the dreams of humans to help me shape this place.
Well,
Stay with me.
Maybe you need a holiday. I think when people get under pressure and they can't relax, then a holiday is required.
And if I was to relinquish my throne, who would sit in my stead?
I didn't say anything about relinquishing a throne. That's just taking a holiday. There always needs to be someone to fill in for you when you're away. All work and no play makes the Goblin King a dull goblin.
The Goblin King looks and says, this place needs to be ruled. And if I am not here, someone else must rule it in my stead.
Well, as a temporary viceroy or whatever the phrase is,
And who would you put upon my throne?
I mean, Scraggle is a changed goblin since he picked up that sword. I think you could trust him to be a noble caretaker.
So, and if I take this vacation, this holiday, where should I go? Will I be alone?
You could come to the real world. I mean, my world. Not that your world isn't real.
And if we go to your real world and we travel together, will you love me?
That's entirely plausible. Listen, I mean, it's easier to write things in a letter than it is to say to someone face to face, right? And you take a bit of getting used to.
I accept. And the music stops. And everyone looks. And the Goblin King says, for a while I will travel and leave this place in the hands of Scraggle Neatfingers. I will return, Scraggle Neatfingers. And while I am gone, you will learn how hard it is to be the Goblin King.
You'll see. You'll see what we do here. Me and the sword and Hoggy and Bitey and Squeak and Wanko and Todd and everybody else, really. We don't need a king.
And the clock hands fall backwards, taking hours off. The crystal ballroom starts falling away into bubbles, carrying away the figures. And we see each of the characters a little while later. Or at least we will do, unless they want to say anything together or to each other before I pull you apart.
I guess I will need to wish Sir Scraggle and Squeek good luck ruling this place for however long it is.
All the best, Lily, and hail Sir Scraggle, or King Scraggle.
We aren't done with King Squeak. I think I've got a bit of work cut out here. But thank you, Lily. That you were, you were a very nice human. I mean, you are a very nice human. And I'm very sorry that you're not a goblin. Because if we were a goblin, I mean, anyways, have fun with the ex-king. Give them a name, right? Yeah? It's not right that somebody hasn't got a name.
Yeah, well, I think I'm not going to be able to introduce. This is the Goblin King when I got home. We'll have to give them a proper name.
Okay. So then let us see each character in an epilogue. I think we definitely see Wanko and Todd reunited, making stew in the lands of yore. But where do we see Squeek to narrate your epilogue?
Well, Squeek is going to be... I think Squeek is going to join the revolution, the Worm revolutionaries, in a as an advisor to be, because he's seen the Goblin Castle and he knows where things are, and so he'll be a spy and advisor, and so to prepare for the Goblin King's return, and then we can lead the next revolution.
I think seems sense, and I think we will never accept the tyranny of goblin rulership ever again. Said, with all these fireworks that we have stolen, it will be extremely easy to blow up Scraggle Neatfingers.
No, not Scraggle. When the other Goblin King comes back, Scraggle will be a just and fine ruler of this kingdom.
Exactly what you said, and we'll cut to, you can see the throne room in the Goblin Castle with a stash of fireworks underneath it and a timer counting down, going, Scraggle. Yeah, what is the beneficent or unkind judgment of Scraggle Neatfingers as Goblin King?
I think we see Scraggle struggling, like he wants people to be free and do their thing. People want him to tell them what their things should be. So there's a lot of discussion happening, and I think we can just see Scraggle yell at people, "You need to think for yourself!" And then you hear the rumbling of an explosion.
You see the goblins and various other monsters go, yes, we are free now. Tell us what to do. And Lily, where do we see you?
I think we see Lily and the Goblin King sharing a chocolate malt at a roller rink, and getting on, I guess. They seem to like each other outside of the terrible labyrinth.
So we will draw ourselves to a conclusion there that back in the real world, the Goblin King has a happy ending well, Squeak and Scraggle Neat Fingers start a new war that seems appropriate for both of them and sets up the sequel quite nicely. So, thank you very much. That has been Labyrinth, the adventure game. Let's maybe do a round of roses and thorns to conclude. So roses, similar to stars, but don't need to be just one session. It can be your favorite thing that you've seen throughout the game. And a thorn is any observations, critique, or considerations you have about the game, as all of us have been playing this for the first time. Donna, you're in character keeper order, so let's start with Lily to begin with. Anything that you would like to throw out as a rose to begin with?
Yeah, I think because I'm not sure how much of this is the book and how much is you, Dave. But you know, the kind of the utter chaos of the goblin world was evident in every single thing that happened. You know, it was wild and just very goblinific, right? Every little thing was exactly what you could have imagined if like HBO got their hands on the
Yeah, I suppose it's probably a bit of both. I think the closest game I've been thinking about this, thinking like, what does it remind me of? It reminds me somewhat of Fall of Magic, who has played that, where you've got your prompts, but your prompts are then you've got to turn it into something pretty quickly and roll with what the characters are doing. So it sort of sets the scene, but then it's up to everyone else. Ozzy, any roses from
I think
you?
more generic is just like Donald, more generic. The world of Labyrinth came across really well in this game, and you know we had some actual references like the helping hands and other various bits, and everything else that was sort of new was fit really well into the world, the setting. So it was all consistent and well executed. So I really enjoyed that, and yeah, that was great. It was like being in the film. It was fantastic.
Awesome, thank you. Sabine, any roses from you?
Yeah, like Donna and Ozzy, it was the world was very, very fantastic, and seemed like a Jim Henson Muppet would come across the corner every time we turn one. And I love the way Lily went through the labyrinth, and I like the way that she wasn't like, oh my god, this is real. She was like, she was taking it in stride. I love that. And Squeak, that little worm crawling here and there, that was really neat, and it fit really well with the narrative. And I also like that Sir Scraggle got a bit of an arc to his character, from boastful, I want to be the Goblin King too. Oh, now I'm the Goblin King. Oh my, you're all free now. Go do your thing. I love that. That was a giant rose. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I say my roses goes out to three viewers in terms of the arcs that you sort of, because there's no mechanism for this in game, but the way that we built meaningful stories about Lily's grandmother and the connection to the Goblin King, Squeak and the Worm Revolution, and Scraggle Neat Fingers' desire for power, which then turns into actually trying to be a noble leader, and it all going again horribly wrong. But that felt again quite in setting. So your characters were lovely to play with, and the same for Maria with Wanko, as sort of this kind, fiery. Unfortunately, we only saw for 2 sessions, but still great fun. We'll go back in the same order to see if there's any observations or thorns. Lily, anything, or Donna, anything from you from a thorn point of view?
I guess I'm not sure how much the player facing system really helped us tell those stories. Like you said, Dave, there didn't seem to be much structure around that, which I guess in an OSR style system, the system tries to get out of the way insofar as possible. But I didn't feel like it was really helping us to tell the story that we ended up telling. But I guess I'd need to read the read the rules myself.
It's really light, right? In that case, it is very much an OSR rule set that.
Yeah.
It's down to the players and the GM, right? You do sometimes miss some of those fictional positioning moves that something like a PBTA game can give you. But as I say, that's the nature of story prompt and OSR sort of brought together, which I suppose it does what I thought the writing on the tin said it was going to do. But yeah, it is interesting. Ozzy, any thorns, any observations?
More from a sort of a meta gaming perspective. I'm not sure how much of a replayability there is. Obviously, if you choose different characters, you will solve situations slightly differently, and but because sort of the rooms are sort of structured in a certain way, and if you hit the room and it's the room with the cage, and then we know what you need to do. Unless the GM sort of removes the role for the room and say, okay, for the next run, we will pick rooms that you haven't seen before. It's I think this was a perfect sort of like a one-shot campaign. It's really, really good, but I'm not sure if a longer or a repeat will work as well the second time around.
Yeah, it's difficult to know, right? I would say we've hit about a third of the book.
Okay.
That's one thing I'll say, right? So each one of the areas has got 20 plus rooms in it. So
Okay.
playing with the characters, you can ignore some of the rooms. Sometimes it's about how you react with the puzzle, and obviously I've been bringing in things which have been back to the hooks that we've laid out in the game. So I'm probably less worried than I thought I would be. But yeah, it is sort of a 3 to 5 shot sort of game, right? And that's what it's for.
I think that is usually true for many games that are based on a specific franchise that is just a relatively short story.
The way it's done here is you've effectively got a game and a set of random encounters in a module setup. In terms of repeatability, it's a valid question, but probably more so than spending something like on the Curse of Strahd book. That is definitely one it's done. You could probably use this a couple of times. I probably will run it again at some point to see how it does hold up to a different group. But it's been quite refreshing and different. Sabine, any thorns from you?
Yeah, a bit of both what Donna and Ozzy said, that it felt rather random at times. I mean, that was kind of the purpose, I get that, but it's still, I'd like it to have more of a coherence. It was like, and then this happens and this happens, but these two things, they don't have anything to do with each other. I mean, you did it very well to connect the whole revolution and stuff like that, but that was that wasn't the system, right?
Oh no, it's a set of game rules. It is fundamentally it is a set of potentially random setups. I've tried to be honest to the roles at any point. There was one point where we ended up fundamentally in one room, which was almost exactly the same sort of challenges as another one we'd been in half an hour earlier. So I said, let's do something else. And you could take out the progress indicator, and if you're doing it, and sort of potentially sort of pick out the rooms which you think are going to be most fun to build the narrative of the story. So that's another way you could potentially run this, is not use the random structure which is built into the game for progress, but actually pick out the rooms and the encounters which you think are most valuable for the characters you've got, and that might allow us to create a more consistent story. But it is by its nature a set of set pieces on a quite not linear, very twisty turny rather than linear quest, right? But that
it was basically pretty linear, because we were going from A to B, and what the encounters along the way were a bit random, but eventually the direction was never in question. It was never the thought like, oh, we could take a shortcut here and arrive at the castle. Like,
Oh, you have, by the way, there were three or four of locations where that could have happened. Like if you were
okay.
captured by the goblins who had a cannon, they would have taken you straight to the Goblin City and left you in the cells that we sort of went into a bit of the way through here. There are questions and other pieces that we could have done would have
Okay.
sort of accelerated. Cool. So there are ways of doing that. But I suppose the two things that I sort of I suppose I would pick up is to say that randomness sometimes is too random, and it's good set pieces, but it's then for the players to pick up. And yeah, I was sort of the stakes of the clock. We got a number of rolls. Maybe I just wasn't harsh enough with it, but the clock was didn't feel pressured enough on you to sort of make your progress. Yeah, but no, I still enjoyed it. I think it's still a nice little game, and it does what it sets out to do, which is try and create something that feels like you're playing through Jim Henson's Labyrinth. So I think it captures the invocation very well. But I think that's also a lot to do with people who wanted to play a game in the Labyrinth and brought that with them, right? If you didn't know the setting, there'd be a heck of a lot more heavy lifting for to do.
And I don't think it's intended to be it's definitely its target audience is people who love Labyrinth.
Yeah.
Rather than this is a generic role-playing game you might enjoy.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's what it's definitely trying to cover. But still, I had fun. I hope you have had fun for the last 4 Sunday mornings. I thank you so much for your time in the Labyrinth. And we will leave it there with the Goblin King and Lily going to Gracelands because that seems like a suitable ending.